You are sitting in a waiting room. Nothing is happening. The walls are white. The clock is loud. And somewhere inside your skull, something starts to crack. You shift in your seat. You check your phone. You check it again. You look at the ceiling. And still, that restless, crawling feeling refuses to leave. That feeling has a name. It is boredom. And scientists now believe it might be one of the most underestimated forces in human history. Not a sign of laziness, not an absence of stimulation, something far stranger than either of those things. What if boredom is not what you think it is? Here is what most people assume. Boredom is empty space. The brain goes quiet when there is nothing to do. And boredom is what that quiet feels like. A blank screen, a powered-down machine. But that is completely wrong. When neuroscientist Marcus Rachel at Washington University began mapping brain activity in the early 2000s, he expected to find that resting brains did very little. His subjects lay still in brain scanners, doing nothing, and what he found stunned him. The brain did not quiet down. It lit up. A vast network of regions exploded with activity the moment subjects were given nothing specific to focus on. Rachel called this the default mode network. And what it does when you are bored will change the way you think about your own mind forever. The default mode network is not rest. It is one of the most metabolically expensive states your brain can enter. It burns more energy than almost any focused task. And the things it does during boredom are extraordinary. It replays memories. It imagines futures that do not exist yet. It runs through social scenarios, rehearsing conversations you have not had. It wonders about the inner lives of other people. It generates ideas by connecting concepts that have never been connected before. Your bored brain is not empty. It is running simulations. And here is the part that changes everything. This simulation engine may be the most uniquely human thing about you. Think about what that means for a moment. Most of the things that define human civilization, the stories you tell, the plans you make, the empathy you feel for strangers you will never meet, all of that runs through the same network that activates when you are sitting in a waiting room with nothing to do. Psychologist Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire has spent over a decade studying boredom, and she describes it as a search. When you are bored, your brain is not switched off. It is scanning, actively hunting for something meaningful to engage with. And if it cannot find it in the outside world, it turns inward. That inward turn is the key. Because the moment your brain stops receiving external input and starts generating internal content, creativity spikes. Problem solving improves. Insights appear that were invisible when your attention was locked onto a screen. Mann ran a study in which one group of participants was given a deeply boring task, copying phone numbers out of a directory, before being asked to think of creative uses for 2 plastic cups. Another group went straight to the creative task without the boring warm-up. The bored group won. Every time. Your brain needed the empty space to do its most interesting work. But if boredom is so useful, why does it feel so bad? That question takes you back much further than a waiting room or a laboratory. It takes you back to the savannah, to the grasslands of East Africa, to a version of your ancestors who could not afford to do nothing. Evolutionary psychologist John Eastwood at York University argues that boredom evolved as a motivational signal. It is an alarm, a quiet but insistent message from deep inside your nervous system that says, you are not engaging with anything that matters right now. Move, act, find something. In an ancestral environment, that alarm kept your ancestors alive. Standing still while resources were scarce was dangerous. Missing the rustle in the grass because you were daydreaming could be fatal. Boredom pushed your ancestors toward action, toward exploration, toward the kind of restless curiosity that spread humans across every continent on Earth. Your brain was not built to sit still. It was built to want. And wanting nothing, truly wanting nothing, is something it finds almost impossible to tolerate. This is why solitary confinement is considered one of the most severe punishments humans can inflict on each other. Not because of physical pain, because of the removal of stimulation. The human brain, denied anything meaningful to engage with, begins to turn on itself. Hallucinations appear. Paranoia sets in. Identity fractures. Your craving for stimulation is not a weakness. It is the same drive that built every city, every culture, every idea that has ever mattered. But here is the twist. The modern world has declared war on boredom. Every pocket now contains a device designed by the world's most sophisticated engineers to eliminate the feeling the moment it appears. The scroll never ends. The algorithm never sleeps. And for the first time in human history, you can go days, weeks, entire seasons without ever being truly bored. That sounds like progress. It is not. Because the same device that fills every gap in your attention also quietly starves the default mode network. It never lets your simulation engine run. It never gives your bored brain the space it needs to do the work that only boredom can do. Neuroscientist Mary Helen Imordino-Yang at the University of Southern California has found that adolescents who never experience boredom, who are constantly externally stimulated, show measurably weaker default mode network activity. They struggle more with empathy. They find it harder to imagine perspectives other than their own. They generate fewer original ideas. When you never let yourself be bored, you are not filling your brain. You are starving it. Think about the last time you had a genuinely original idea. Where were you? In a meeting? At your desk? Focused on a task? Probably not. More likely, you were in the shower, or on a walk, or lying awake at 3 a.m. when your phone was face down and your mind was left with nothing but itself. That was not coincidence. The shower works because it is boring. The walk works because it is boring. 3 a.m. works because, for once, the algorithm cannot reach you. Your best thinking happens in the gaps. And when you seal every gap with content, you do not become more productive. You become less capable of the specific kind of thought that has driven every major breakthrough in your life and in human history. There is something else boredom does that almost no one talks about. It forces you to know what you want. When there is nothing external to react to, when no one is offering you a choice of 3 streaming services or a feed of curated opinions, you have to generate desire from the inside. And generating desire from the inside requires knowing yourself. It requires asking, what do I actually want to do right now if I could do anything? That question, simple as it sounds, is one of the hardest questions a modern person can answer. Because most people have spent so long outsourcing the answer to an algorithm that they have forgotten how to find it on their own. Boredom is the pressure that forces that answer to the surface. This is why philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote in the 17th century that all of humanity's problems stem from the inability to sit quietly in a room alone. He was not describing a character flaw. He was describing a biological reality. The restless, scanning, simulation-running brain confronted with silence finds it unbearable. But unbearable is not the same as bad. Discomfort is the price of growth. And the particular discomfort of boredom is the price of the deepest, most creative, most self-aware version of your thinking. Every time you resist reaching for your phone when there is nothing else to do, you are doing something that matters. You are giving your default mode network permission to run. You are letting your brain replay, reconnect, reimagine, and generate. You are, in the truest sense, letting yourself think. So here you are again, sitting in a waiting room. Nothing is happening. The walls are white. The clock is loud. And somewhere inside your skull, something extraordinary is beginning.